Today we are joined by Beruce Khan. Beruce has performed in plays such as Shadowlands at Chichester Festival Theatre, for the RSC, A Christmas Carol and Twelfth Night, for Shakespeare's Globe, Henry V, Romeo and Juliet, and the groundbreaking international globe-to-globe tour of Hamlet that visited every country in the world over 2 years. Other credits include major roles in the West End and at the National Theatre. Hello Bruce, thank you for doing this for me, I really appreciate it.
Excited to be trying to impart some of my knowledge to people who are helping to try and get into drama school, see if I can help them out. So firstly, I should probably say it took me 3 years to get into drama school. So across those 3 years, I think I went for all of them. My first year, I auditioned pretty much everywhere. RADA, Lambda, Guildhall, Drama Centre, Mount View, Bristol, Vic, Lipper, Alra, many more. But the year that I actually got into drama school, I narrowed it down a bit because I'd done a foundation course at East 15, and that kind of helped me realise what kind of training I wanted. It was after the kind of more classical training. I went for RADA, Lambda, Guildhall, Drama Centre, Mount View and Bristol Vic.
So would you say your time at East 15 changed you, made you grow?
Yeah, hugely. I knew little about the drama school scene. I was in youth theatre groups and I went to college and I did A-level drama and I did a BTEC in drama, but in terms of preparation for drama school, it was quite hard because we didn't have a huge amount of resources at the college I was at, so we were given a list of different speeches to look through, but there wasn't a huge amount. Coming down to London and being taught by teachers who'd been in the profession their whole lives and actually been in London and having access to bigger bookshops to get a bigger range of speeches to choose from was really helpful.
When you're talking about those resources that you had back home, would you say they were more of the classical, of the Shakespeare, that kind of thing that you couldn't get hold of, or was it the contemporary style, or was it both?
A bit of both, to be honest. I remember going into Waterstones and the Bridges in Sunderland, and there was just the drama section was so small.
And of course you didn't maybe have all the online content that's out there now.
No, exactly. So my first 2 years of auditioning, I actually chose speeches that were completely wrong for me. I didn't identify with them as an actor and as a person. But yeah, so actually the foundation course helped me to steal other speeches from other people as well, actually. I think that was one thing I'd say. Always use your friends and people who are applying for drama school as well to share resources as well. If you find a good speech, tell your friends who are doing it as well.
Do you remember what pieces you did for your drama school auditions?
Personally, I think you have to love the pieces you're going to choose because you're going to have to work on them a lot. I chose a modern and a Shakespeare, and my modern was from a play called The Hot Zone, which is by a playwright called Nurjay Mahindra. It's about 3 British Asian men in Guantanamo Bay. Despite the setting, it was the lighter of me 2 pieces. It was quite. It was about a guy. He's stuck in Guantanamo Bay, but he's talking to one of his cellmates about a girl that he fancies back home, and it was like his perfect date that they went out in. It was in Wolverhampton, I think it was set, but I changed it to Sunderland. So he was out on a night out in Sunderland, and him and this girl just went and they found this scaffolding, and they just sat at the top of the scaffolding, like looking over the whole city with some fish and chips. And it sounds so simple, but it was very kind of like romantic, and the character was kind of saying, I don't need fancy things. I don't need to go to a really expensive restaurant to have a good date and to get someone to like me. It was actually, all you need is the right setting and the right person.
So the contrast of you doing that piece, which I can tell even from the way you're talking about it now, years later, how much it meant to you, compared to when you auditioned the first time around, when you didn't have the right stuff, when you got your book from Waterstones and you just... Was there a huge contrast in how you delivered them because you cared about it so much? Yeah,
hugely. I had a lot of things to draw on from my life. Like I'd had crushes on people, and I'd kind of had a similar experience. Like not sat on top of a scaffolding, but I identified with the person. I think it's really important. I just want to highlight it's important to try and pick 2 contrasting speeches. A lot of drama schools ask for it, and it just means you get to show 2 different sides of your ability. Otherwise, you can just come across as a one-trick pony. My Shakespeare was Louis the Dauphin from King John, and it's a great speech. It comes right pretty much towards the end of the play, and basically England and France have been at war. One of the cardinals from Rome comes to Louis just as he's about to take the English crown, just as he's about to win the war. The cardinal says, English King John has made peace with Rome, so now you have to stop the war. And he's just like, what? Like, you cannot say this to me now. Like, I am so close to doing, like, people, like, we have sweated, like, we've sweated blood, like, and it's just great. It's got a great forward momentum in the writing of it. It's like a great argument. One thing that is really good for a speech, if you have a great argument or a great point of view. Louis is kind of a very stubborn character at that point, and again, I drew on myself because I can be very stubborn.
Did you have a lot of Shakespeare knowledge? That the fact that you're so passionate about that speech that you did you have that the first time you went, or was it East 15 that helped you with that, would you say? It
was pretty much East 15. One, it was prose, so it didn't matter how I delivered it, really, I thought. Yeah, and I was scared of it, man. Like, I was really scared of it before I did it. And everyone is. I hear the same story so many times. Like, it is... People associate Shakespeare with being at school and having to pass a test. But actually, if you get past that, if you really go into the story, it's the story itself and these characters and what they want and what is actually happening in the world, it can become a lot more interesting.
Because the stories are so brilliant. It's the stories that have lasted the test of time, and it's up to us to deliver them in a way that works for the modern audience.
Nerves. I'd make myself immune to nerves. Because
I'm the same.
I know, I get so nervous, but I still do. But I'm never really nervous when I'm doing the piece, when I'm doing an audition piece. It's normally like the interview stage.
Which surprises me because you're so warm and welcoming and...
I don't know what it is, it just comes across, like I can have worked as hard as possible on the speeches, and I can be happy with my portrayal of them. But just something kicks in because essentially when I'm auditioning as an actor now, I know that my next month's wage or two wage could be dependent on this audition. And it's same for going to drama school, you're there and it's a big thing. Like, this audition could define the rest of my life or my career. The more I worked on my speeches and the more I do now, the more confident I became with them. And what is it? I think Judi Dench, she says, like, use your nerves. Like, if you can try and channel them and control them into something good, which you can't always do. Like, it is practice.
Don't act how you think they want you to be. Just be yourself.
I mean, that's one of the most important bits of advice, I'd say. Try and be yourself. If you're nervous and you're like, I mean, I've had people on an audition panel in front of me like shaking, and I've done that, and it doesn't affect the result of the audition. If you're nervous, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, people, it's part of the job. So I trained at RADA, and I graduated in 2009. The year I got in was the year that I was on the foundation course at East 15. My first audition was at Mountview on the acting course, and I got in. And I was like, brilliant, cool. Right, well, I've got the rest of my auditions to come up, but if nothing happens, then I'm really happy going to Mountview. That's brilliant. And then I got knocked back by a few others. I think Lander and Guildhall I didn't get in. But then I got into Drama Centre as well, and I was really chuffed with that because I really enjoyed the audition day and the teachers. I really identified with the way the teachers worked. All the while I was auditioning for RADA, because RADA has 4 rounds. I was quite realistic about my level. I was like, I know I'm good. I know I'm at a certain level, but I saw RADA as like up there, and I'm like, I'm not that good. I'd gone into Drama Centre and I did the final audition day at RADA, which is a day where you go in, you spend a day in the life of a drama student.
That's really interesting that they do that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think it's partly for them to get to know you properly and how you work in a class and with others, and also for you to get an idea of the style of teaching, and I think still, even at the 4th round, if it's something you want to do, because it is a hard career. I think it was about a week later after my audition, I got the call, and I thought it was going to be, oh well, you're on the waiting list, but it wasn't. They offered me a place, and I just couldn't believe it. Sounds cheesy as anything. I'd say always believe in yourself. That's really cheesy.
No, it's not, because it's hard. A lot of people, if they got rejections from drama schools, they would just stop there. But you didn't, and you've gone on to have this amazing career, and that's so important for these upcoming students to see and to hear and to talk about.
You have to have a massive amount of faith in yourself, but also almost being realistic about what level you're at, and that's hard to tell sometimes because like A lot of us can think we're the best actors in the world, but we're not. You have to work incredibly hard. You have to put everything in. If it's the career you want, you have to put as much as you can in. It's a hugely competitive industry, but it welcomes hard-working, talented people with open arms. And find speeches that have characters that are going through something you can identify with. You don't have to do an impressive speech. Like, you don't have to burst into tears or...
Yeah, I think some people think they need to shock the panel, when actually they just need to be an actor and just act whatever the piece is, as long as they connect with it, like you say. And so you've worked on panels, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think there is no criteria to actually get into drama school and for acting. That's the hard thing for people to come to terms with. It's subjective. Like, acting is an art, and art is subjective, and where one person can like a certain piece of work, someone else can't. Like, there are times on the audition panel where I'm absolutely raving about a certain actor who's auditioning, and then someone else thinks the complete opposite. So take my experience, I got into 3 schools, but I also didn't get into 5 or 6 others. I think the mark of a good actor is someone who can truthfully portray and inhabit the life of someone else. Someone who can step into someone else's shoes and make their story interesting to an audience. Because it's one thing to kind of feel it yourself and to go through what the character's feeling, but you also need to portray that to an audience, and it's a really fine skill, and some people just naturally have it in them. Some people are naturally good storytellers, and that's kind of priceless. You can't teach that. Drama skills can help you with your technique, they can help you with your voice and your movement, but in terms of like humanity and emotional intelligence, that is something that people just come with. If
you could hear the drama school audition stories of any actor, who would it be?
One of my favourite actors is an actor called Beruce Khan. He was phenomenal. He was like one of those actors who was taken before his time, like Heath Ledger, and just phenomenal artist. My energy is quite wild and out there, and I have to kind of try and rein it in sometimes when I'm acting. But here's the complete opposite. He is so effortlessly cool and charismatic. He can just tell a story with his eyes. He veered between Bollywood and Hollywood. He was in Jurassic World recently, and he was in Slumdog Millionaire and Inferno with Tom Hanks. Lots of films. I would have loved to have seen his energy in a drama school audition. When I was studying, we aimed to train people for the theatre, and we expected that people would go on to do telly and film, but when I was at drama school, there certainly wasn't that kind of veer towards training for film and media as there is now. I would love to see if the teachers were thinking, oh God, he's great, but he's too small, he's too minimalistic, how will that reach the back of a theatre? Or if they were thinking, well, it doesn't matter, like, he's just so talented. Can I do a plug on one of his films, which I think everyone should watch? It's called The Lunchbox. It's an Indian film, but you can get it in English subtitles. It is about a guy in India who receives a lunchbox one day. The Indian lunchbox system is this massive network where people who go to work, their lunch is delivered to them. It's cooked by their wives or partners, and is then delivered to them at work. And Irfan Khan's character gets the wrong lunchbox. He gets someone from a married woman, and he leaves a note in there saying, oh, very good paneer, it was really nice, thanks. And then they end up having this conversation because she's in a kind of unhappy marriage, and I won't spoil it any more than that, but he's just brilliant, man. Like, it's if you want a good example of what I think is good film acting, he's fantastic. But you'll enjoy it.
Thanks for taking the time to do this. I really, really appreciate it.
You too, mate. Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you loved it, hit the subscribe button. If there's an actor you would like to hear the drama school audition stories of, please get in touch with us in the comments down below or via our social media channels. We are Chiron Audition Prep, and we'll see you again soon.